Hi, my name is Dr. Marc Reynolds, and I'm a voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. Today we're going to be talking about Alicia Keys and John Mayer singing If I Ain't Got You and Gravity live. I'm going to be talking about this from a voice teacher perspective, commenting on what they're doing. Here we go.
Some people live for a fortune. Some people live just for the.
Okay, is she doing anything dramatic with her voice? Or I should say, is she doing anything that tells us I am singing now? No, she's just doing something that looks like she's talking. We hear this music that sets the mood, that gets us into the moment. She gives us some riffs that introduce us to her voice and give us some of the emotional context. And then she just starts talking to us. It's a really smooth transition, helps us believe it, doesn't put us on the defensive or put a barrier between us. It pulls us right into her performance there. It also keeps any tension out of her voice and singing from the start. She's singing with a microphone, so she doesn't have to necessarily project and sing loud to be heard, especially since she's playing with piano under her only, and the music is relatively simple and quiet. She doesn't have to work that hard. She's letting the mic do the work for her. It gives her somewhere to go for the rest of the song.
Some people live for the power, Some people live.
Okay, what I want to point out here as you're watching, if you'll go to our performance coaching video of this, you'll see that I talk about the upper tooth smile as a performance tool. It's also a voice tool. You'll see here this whole row of teeth all the way back to these back teeth as she's singing here. It does a lot of things. Try it. Go and start singing with this top row of teeth. Keep this jaw relaxed. Get these top row of teeth out in a genuine smile, as big and toothy as you can. And you're going to find it helps ease up that voice a little bit. What's really going on in there is complex. There's quite a few things that are happening. One thing that's going on is we're uncovering this soundboard on some level. You can imagine if you have a guitar and you put a wet blanket over the front of it, it's going to mute that sound. It's not going to resonate as freely and easily. Same thing here. If we take our lips and cover these teeth, it's going to mute that soundboard. It's also going to make some other things weird as well. The second thing it's going to do is going to help the muscles around it also lift and give us some more space, some more resonance. It also seems to help keep that sound more forward and present and consistent. So, the upper tooth smile, watch it. She uses it like crazy. If you look at performers all the way from pop to opera to music theater, you're going to see that when they really get singing, we see this top row of teeth come popping right on out.
Some people think that the physical things define what's within, and I've been there before.
There's some moments there where if you watch in the background, you're seeing a little bit of grab here. You're seeing a little grab here in her throat. If we're smiling the whole time, it can get tension in here, so we got to make sure to keep this jaw relaxed. And this tension here makes me think that there's some tension going on in that tongue as well. It's wanting to pull back and grab. It suggests that what's going on is related to some tongue tension. My goal here as I'm watching her is, if she were my student, are there things that I could suggest that she would do that would make her singing even easier? My belief is if her singing's easier, the sound will be more pleasing to us as an audience as well. So in this case, yeah, I think there's two things that are going to help her, and we're going to see more as we're watching. She already has this top two smile thing going on. I think that's going to, in general, help her singing be easier. Try it yourself. See if it makes it easier here. If it's harder to think about, if it takes more work to stretch or whatever, that's okay. When we're talking about ease, we're talking about ease here. So see if that makes it easier for you. Number two thing that I think it would make it easier for her is keeping that tongue a little more passive. So it's sitting, if this is our bottom teeth and this is our tongue, it's sitting here forward against these teeth, staying nice and passive. The sides of it aren't getting tight of this tongue, and it's we're using it just like we would be as if we're talking. Third thing that I think would help a lot is this jaw coming down and back. She actually goes straight down, or even sometimes juts it forward, as we'll see. Is that necessarily bad all the time? No, it might help her get certain colors, but in general, it's going to increase the tension in her voice if she does it more than a few notes at a time or a phrase at a time. If she's doing it for color effect, that's one thing. If she's doing it just as habit and voice technique, it's not going to be helping her. It's just going to make things harder.
Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I...
You're seeing most of the time in the throat here, she's staying really relaxed, but every once in a while you'll see something grab and get tight. It'd just be something to work through and see if you get easier. It's live. She's human. Is it going to be perfect? No. She's going to do things that out here we're going to be able to nitpick because we're sitting comfortably on a couch. You got to give respect to someone who's doing a live performance and give them space to be human. But since we're using it as a tool for us to learn what we can do to be even easier, that's something that gives it away that maybe there's something that could be even easier there.
You, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything it means nothing.
Okay, feel that press underneath. Everything's got nothing. She's doing that for emotional reasons, but if she would have kept that same emotional intensity but not let the soft palate drop and not let things go into this place, say feel how it just but instead go to where she is most of the time and say say hat, feel how that opens up in the back, then we wouldn't get this pressed feel and we wouldn't get this crackle. Maybe that's what she wants. Maybe that's the sound she wants, is this kind of press moment that gives us a certain motion, this kind of crackle that gives us this kind of raw quality, and that's okay. Again, she's singing with a mic, so every once in a while she can choose her moments to sacrifice voice technique for an emotional color choice that gives her a certain result. Is she going to want to stay there? Definitely not. She's going to fatigue really fast. Is it going to cost her something? Yeah. But if she as the artist determines that it's worth that cost, then hey, maybe it is. And she's got to know where her boundaries are and how much it's going to cost her and if it's going to affect the rest of her performance.
If I ain't got you, and I mean it. My man Questlove is coming out here to play some drums for us.
Something I want to point out here is she starts talking, she keeps her speaking voice right where her singing voice is. She doesn't let her talking pull her voice into somewhere new that she's going to then have to come back out of again. And it helps her speaking voice stay easy and healthy too. It's not going to take as much out of her to be able to talk. If she were to all of a sudden drop it down to where she might talk if it's early in the morning and she's by herself, that would probably cost her something and it wouldn't be helpful. But she's being smart and staying right up in that singing register when she's talking, which is great.
This is Quest. And I also have to invite my dear, beautiful friend, John Mayer. Take your time. We just up here vibing. Y'all feeling good, New York?
Okay, notice how he's not really showing these teeth here. He's in the lower part of his register, so he can get away with it. Ooh. When he goes up to that higher place up there, he lets we hear a big transition. If we're wanting to keep it mixed, keep that balance so we don't hear this big gear change, he's going to need to unlock these top teeth here to help keep it more balanced and keep that transition from the lower to higher. That's part of his style, though, and it has this kind of muted, softer quality to the sound, and that's on purpose. So he's muting, again, the soundboard to get a certain sound. To me, if it's a choice that fits their style, fits their wanting to do, then I think it's worth giving some respect to that as a choice as an artist that they can make. If they're doing it just out of habit and it doesn't fit what they're doing, it doesn't match, then it's something we really need to consider about changing. In this instance, I think it's not hurting him, and that he has a mic and it's part of his style, gets this nice, easy, warm vibe that John is so good at making.
That's the only way to prove you love me. Hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be?
Okay, you can notice here that Alicia's jaw here is really pretty far out, and we're seeing some tension there and some loss of quality in the sound. With John too, you're seeing the side of his neck here really bulging. He's having to work really hard when he shouldn't have to. It's not all that high for him, and he's not having to compete with a lot of sound yet. But because of how he's using his voice, he's having to work harder to get the sound that he could get a lot easier with a lot less work. Okay, so if you were to go back here, we alluded to this earlier in the video. If you watch Alicia here, it's ah all the time. If you turned off the sound and you tried to figure out what vowel she was singing on, it would look like every vowel was an ah. When we listen to it, it doesn't sound like an ah. We're hearing really nice, clean, clear vowels from her. The reason is, behind her molars here, she's keeping this ah space. If you say hat, she's keeping back here in that same kind of, to me it feels like a box behind these back molars that's open here. That keeps that sound forward, keeps the overtone frequency in kind of a pop-oriented sound. And so as we're listening to her, it also keeps that sound consistent. It keeps that placement forward, which matches what the music's calling for, and it keeps that sound easier and open and resonant. When she lets that collapse, then we start seeing that force, that tension start creeping out. John really likes to keep it more collapsed in the back. He doesn't live in that ass space as much as most pop singers do. Consequently, he works quite a bit harder here, and has to rely on the mic to do a lot more, which is not a problem in terms of letting the mic do more work. We want to let the mic do its work. It's there for a reason. Let's use it. I think we could still get John Mayer's unique, warm, beautiful sound in a way that's even easier and more rich and full. Okay, see those top teeth starting to come out on John? Yeah, he's having to do it. The register's getting higher, the song's going on longer. By default, his body knows. He's a really experienced performer. Without even thinking, he's having to keep that singing a little bit easier to be able to get what he needs to get with a consistent sound.
Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I got.
So he's really smart here. They're giving him some time. He just spent a lot of vocal capital here in this last bit. You'll see a lot of these neck muscles popping out here. He's really kind of yelling more than kind of singing in there, which I don't think he needed to do. I think he could have got the same sound with a lot less effort, as we talked about. but he's giving himself a little, he's smart, he's giving himself a little bit of time to breathe, for his voice to relax and comfortable. He's keeping his face nice and relaxed to let himself recover and get back to a neutral, easy place. That's smart, being a smart performer. See, that this song that he's performed a lot, we're seeing these teeth come out more consistently.
What makes this man with all the love that his heart can stay? Dream of ways to throw it all away.
So you'll notice with John here, if you look in back, if you were to turn off that sound, the jaw is pretty tight and it's collapsed here and back. Means we're not getting as resonant and clear a sound as we get like from Alicia or from other pop singers. That's part of his style, but it'd be interesting to hear what would happen if we got him to release his jaw a little bit, to let it come down and back, to keep a little of that ass space that we talked about before, more in that sound, and see what happened. We get it in moments, and the moments when he does it, we get more clarity and vibrance in his sound. The moments where he lets it go, it gets a little more coarse, rough. We get more white noise in it, which is one of the things he's going for, is a variety of colors here and a variety of sounds, and to give us this interest and meaning, which is successful. The question is, could he be as expressive but in an easier way? And I think the answer is yes. Notice here, you look in her mouth, that tongue, how it's staying passive like we talked about. It's staying forward, and we're seeing the sides of it. It's staying nice and forward and floppy. It's speech-like. It's doing what it needs to make the consonant vowels, but it's staying forward and passive. Awesome. You'll see in that neck that she's exposing. Did we see any tension or that popping, the stuff that we see with John? No, we don't. So again, there's more release and relax here. And consequently, I think we hear a more consistent sound. At her top note there, it seemed a little pressed, a little forced. I think that's an airflow issue where her airflow slowed down, and she probably psyched herself out a little bit of it. She didn't quite give it the space or the airflow that it required. Or it might have just been at the top of her range. So that warrants a little more attention. It would be interesting to play with that. But for now, I want you to stay focused on keeping that tongue passive, like she's shown earlier, this upper row of teeth. And as we're going to notice here moving forward, you're going to notice both of them. One of the things that makes this pro sound is this airflow consistency. They're keeping a little bit of air moving nice and fast. They're not using a ton of air. John uses more air than Alicia uses for the most part. But they're using a little bit of air and keeping it fast. The key is the speed of the air more than it is the quantity.
Oh, twice as much, ain't twice as good, and can't sustain like one half could.
Here in this lower range, we're getting some of this airy, breathy quality to it. They're letting these vocal folds have a little less pressure between and increasing the volume of air, the quantity of air, and not so much the speed. So that creates this kind of breathy sound. If they were to increase the speed, then it would suck these air folds together, and we'd still get a crisp, clear sound. But if we increase the quantity without increasing the speed and relax those vocal folds a little bit, we're going to get this kind of breathy, soft sound that is associated with his style. Notice on that E vowel, E, that tongue was way forward. Huge. Try that. Try singing the E vowel. For a lot of performers, E's are so hard, they get so tight and tense. If they'll just keep that tongue forward like she just did, we can still get a pure E vowel, but it's easy. Sweet.
Keep me where the light is. Just keep me where the light is.
You gonna keep me?
Just keep me where the light is. Oh, just keep me where.
You notice in John here, in this mouth in here, as he's singing this bit, it's just relaxed. This jaw, if you look to the side, it's going down and back. It's not jutting forward. It's not. It's nice and relaxed in this easy place that keeps that voice working really well and easy. He's not necessarily working hard at it. He's just keeping easy, which gets that sound really nice and clear. I'm going to stop the video there. You can continue watching on your own. But for our purposes today, we talked about a lot of different tools that you can use to make your singing even easier. If you, your group, your band would like a private coaching, or just like me to review your video and give you feedback on what you're doing, I would love to work with you. Go ahead and book a time, and I look forward to seeing you online.